Everything is finally going well. The relationship is good, the job is working, things have settled into something that genuinely resembles peace. And then, slowly, almost invisibly, something starts to shift. A fight that did not need to happen. A decision that made no rational sense. A door closed on something that was working. And afterward, looking back at the wreckage, the question that haunts them is always the same. Why did I do that? If you have ever watched yourself sabotage something good, not once, but repeatedly across different areas of your life, you already know this feeling. The sickening recognition that you were the one who did it, that nobody else is to blame, that the thing you wanted most is gone and your own hands are the reason. Today I want to show you why this happens, because self-sabotage is not a mystery. It is not weakness, and it is not self-destruction for its own sake. It is a psychological mechanism with a very specific origin. And once you understand what it is actually doing, the pattern stops feeling random and starts making a painful, precise kind of sense. Self-sabotage is not about wanting to fail. Nobody consciously wants to destroy the things that matter to them. What is actually happening is something more subtle and more insidious than that. Psychologists describe self-sabotage as a conflict between two parts of the same person. One part that wants the good thing, the relationship, the success, the peace, and another part operating below conscious awareness that does not believe it is safe to have it. And when those two parts come into conflict, the one below the surface almost always wins. Not because it is stronger, but because it is older. Because it was formed at a time when the stakes felt existential, and it has been running the same protective program ever since. Think of it this way. Every person develops an implicit model of what they deserve, what is available to them. What level of happiness, love, and success feels consistent with who they believe themselves to be? Psychologists call this a self-concept, and it is formed largely in childhood. Largely through the experiences and messages we absorbed before we had the tools to evaluate them critically. When life exceeds that model, when things are going better than what the self-concept says is appropriate, the unconscious mind experiences it as a threat. Not consciously, not logically. But in the same way a thermostat experiences a room that is too warm, it registers, this does not match the setting. And it acts to bring things back to where they feel familiar. Author and psychologist Gay Hendricks described this as the upper limit problem. The idea that every person has an internal thermostat set to a certain level of happiness, love, and success, and that when life rises above that level, the unconscious mind finds a way to bring it back down. And the methods it uses are remarkably consistent across different people and different circumstances. Picking a fight with a partner when things are going well. Procrastinating on a project right before a breakthrough. Making a financial decision that makes no sense. Getting sick at exactly the moment something important is about to happen. Getting overwhelmed by anxiety precisely when life is objectively the least threatening it has ever been. None of these feel like self-sabotage from the inside. The fight feels justified. The procrastination feels like a practical problem. The anxiety feels real and urgent. But the timing, always at the moment when things are going well, is not a coincidence. It is the thermostat doing its job, bringing the temperature back to what feels like normal, even when normal was never good. So where does this internal setting come from? And why is it set so low for some people? The answer almost always traces back to early experiences that communicated something about what this person deserves. Sometimes it came from explicit messages, being told directly, in words, that they were not good enough, not talented enough, not worthy of the things they wanted. Sometimes it came from emotional neglect, from growing up in an environment where their needs, feelings, and dreams were consistently not seen or not responded to, teaching them that their inner world did not matter. Sometimes it came from something more specific, experiencing good things being followed by bad things reliably enough that the nervous system learned to treat happiness itself as a warning sign, as the quiet before the storm. If good things were regularly followed by loss, punishment, or disappointment, the psyche begins to associate joy with danger, and the most efficient way to avoid the pain that follows happiness is to destroy the happiness before something else does. This is the most heartbreaking version of self-sabotage. Not destroying good things because you do not want them, destroying them because wanting them and losing them has been so painful so many times that it feels safer to be the one who ends it. At least then you are in control of when the hurt arrives. There is one more piece to this that I think is the most important, and it is the role of shame. For many people who chronically self-sabotage, the mechanism underneath is not fear of loss. It is a deeper belief about themselves, that they are fundamentally not the kind of person who gets to have good things, that their happiness is somehow not legitimate, that if people really knew them, fully without the performance, they would understand why this level of success or love or peace was never really theirs to keep. Psychologist Brené Brown, who has spent decades studying shame, describes this as the sense that I am not enough. Not that I did something wrong, that I am something wrong. And when this belief is operating, good things do not feel like wins. They feel like mistakes waiting to be corrected, like borrowed time, like a gap between who you actually are and what you are currently pretending to have. And so the sabotage becomes a strange act of honesty, a way of making the outside match the inside, of returning to the level that feels, however painfully, like the truth about yourself. So what do you do with this? Because understanding the mechanism is not the same as being free of it. The first thing is to start noticing the pattern in time, not after the sabotage has already happened, but in the moment when things are going well and the urge to disrupt them begins to rise. The anxiety that appears from nowhere, the sudden need to pick a fight, the compulsion to make a decision that does not make sense. These are the signals, and the practice is simply to name what is happening. My upper limit is being triggered right now. This feeling is not information about reality. It is my thermostat trying to bring the temperature back down. The second thing is to deliberately, consciously expand your tolerance for things going well. This sounds strange, but the internal thermostat is not fixed. It is a learned setting, which means it can be updated. Every time you catch the sabotage impulse and choose not to act on it, every time you let the good thing stay good a little longer, you give your nervous system evidence that happiness does not automatically lead to disaster, that you can hold it, that you are allowed to have it. And the third thing, the deepest thing, is to work directly on the belief underneath. The belief that you are not the kind of person who deserves good things. This does not change quickly, but it changes through what you do, not just what you think. Every act of self-respect, every boundary held, every good thing allowed to stay. These are not just behaviors. They are arguments against the old belief. Evidence accumulating slowly that the thermostat was set wrong, and that you are allowed to adjust it. Here's what I want to leave you with. If you have ever watched yourself destroy something good and not been able to explain why, you are not broken. You are not self-destructive by nature. You are someone whose nervous system learned at some point that good things are dangerous, that happiness is followed by loss, that you are not quite the kind of person who gets to keep what they want. That learning was not wrong given what you experienced. It made sense then. The problem is that it is still running now, in a different life, against different evidence. The goal is not to punish yourself for the pattern. It is to see it, to name it when it appears, to choose one moment at a time to let the good thing stay. To build, slowly and deliberately, a self-concept that matches the life you actually deserve, not the one that was handed to you before you were old enough to question it. Leave a comment below. Have you ever caught yourself doing this, sabotaging something good? I want to hear from you. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if this resonated, and I will see you in the next one.